where did you meet him? And then what city or state this was in?
So this was in South Carolina. I was living in Myrtle Beach at the time, and he was living in Conway, which is probably about 20 minutes apart. We met on Facebook. It was probably like 2 to 3 weeks. We were talking on Facebook. It finally came around and he was like, wanting to go on a date or whatever. So I was like, okay, I could come to your house or whatever. And I was like, well, no, you're not going to come to my house. You can't come to my house because I don't know you. You don't know me. And the most important thing was I had like a one child at that time. And I'm like, I'm not bringing you to my house. Like, this is where my child lives. So he was like, all right, cool. Then we can go on a date or whatever. So he was like, do you want to go to Charleston? So I was like, okay, we can go to Charleston. Okay, well, I'll meet you at Applebee's right before we need to get off the exit to go to Charleston. I'll just park my car at the Applebee's and then we can go from there. Fast forward, we got to Applebee's, got together, we talked, we drove all the way to Charleston, which is probably like an hour and 15-minute ride to get there. We got to the restaurant. I forgot what restaurant we even went to and ate at when we got in Charleston. But when we got there, we were talking, everything was good. So my son at the time was 2 years old. My son was at his dad's mom house, which is his grandma. My son's dad called me, and so I answered the phone. I said, excuse me. And I was like, my son's dad is calling, so I want to take the call because he's probably calling to ask me about my son. So when I answered the phone, I was like, I already dropped him off at your mom's house. That was it. Hung up immediately. After I hung up the phone, he was just looking like, and so I'm just looking like he was looking at me as if I had done something. And so he was like, that was rude. And I was like, what was rude? And he was like, you talking to your baby daddy in front of me. Told you prior to me coming here that I had, before me and you even met up, we've been talking throughout the day. And I told you I was taking my son to his grandma's house. And he was like, yeah, but you don't talk to your baby daddy in front of me. That's rude. I don't care what y'all got going on. Trying not to like overboard this thing because for one, I didn't drive here. So I'm trying not to overboard this thing. After that, I was carrying on just conversation to talk. And he kind of was like, you know how you're sitting there talking to a person and it's like you're talking and like they're not even in the conversation with you? That's basically how it was.
It was
I said, like,
checked out.
yeah, like he just had checked out from the table completely. He went to the bathroom. And when he came back and sat down, he was on the phone when he sat down. I'm not saying nothing. He telling the person on the phone, like, I'm gonna talk to you about that later. And so I'm like, like, because you just went completely off about literally nothing. Then you go to the bathroom and get on a call and come back and sit down in front of me. And now you're like, oh, I'll talk to you about that later. You're ending the call. I hope you're not feeling no type of way because I was on the phone. And I was like, no, I wasn't feeling no type of way because you was on the phone. I'm like, I know you know people outside of just me in the world. Like, you got a life too. I don't know who you could have been talking to your mama for all I knew. So I wasn't upset. But I felt like you did it out of spite to be funny. So we get in the car and he's like, we can stay down here tonight if you want to. No, I don't want to stay, we can just do as planned, go back home. And he was like, well, if I want to stay, do you think you would have somebody that'll be able to come pick you up? And I was like, no, you brought me down here. Like, I left my car to come down here with you. And I'm not going to stay nowhere with you because for one, we're not on that level. And for two, you just went off about a small phone call that literally was nothing.
Who's not caught up on what just happened. So with Kia, she's on a first date with the man. However, Wakia left her car at the Applebee's, which was an hour away. She didn't want him to pick her up from her home just for safety issues. So he picked her up from the Applebee's close to her house. When he picked her up from the Applebee's, they drove for 1 hour to their. Now they have left the restaurant, and now he's telling you, hey, guess what? I'm not trying to drive an hour back to the car or back to our city. Let's just stay here for the night. And you're saying, no, I don't want to stay here for the night. No, I want to go home. And he's like, well, can you get someone to pick you up?
Okay, so after that, we stopped at like a Circle K and he got out of the car. He was like, I'm going to get some gas or whatever. And so I'm just sitting in the car. But I share location with like my brother, my sister, my aunt, like, so everybody knows where I am. And prior to me going on the date, I already called my aunt and was like, okay, I'm going on a date with this guy. And I'm just like giving her everything that she could possibly need and use if anything was to happen. So I'm texting her while he's in the store and I'm already telling her, like, he already asked to stay here. I said no. And I told her about the little thing he did coming back from the bathroom on the phone. And she was like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. She was like, I see your location. She was like, I don't know what he's going to do. You don't know either. She was like, so I'm just going to go ahead and get in my car and head to you. She was like, the GPS is showing that you're like 54 minutes away from me. She was like, so I'm going to go ahead and head to you. She was like, I'm just going to follow. Like, she can see me moving. Of course, iPhone users know. So she's just like, I'm gonna come follow to you. We get like on this little interstate that's not towards home. At this moment, I pack in my purse wherever I go. I'm straight wherever I go. I got my purse. I got what I need in my purse. I'm just being quiet, like he got the music playing. He on the phone, and I'm guessing it was his brother, cause he on the phone and he like, yeah, that's why bees or whatever, because they do disrespectful s. And so I'm not saying nothing, but I'm just sitting there looking like, are you talking about me in front of my face? So he pulls up at this hotel
So he takes you to the hotel, although you've already told him,
that I
I'm
did
not
not want to go.
comfortable. I don't want to stay the night. I don't want to go to a hotel. I want to go home.
Yep.
But you are calm because you have a peace.
And that
Okay.
wasn't even the only reason why I didn't say too much, because like at the end of the day, I'm a woman, he's a man. And I don't know who you know in this city or what you may have going on. So I didn't want to make things like worse. You get what I'm saying? I didn't want to like be trying to go off and then I'm in like a losing situation. I'm already knowing that somebody is on the way to me. So I'm just trying to like be chill. So when he pulls up to the hotel and he pulls like under the thing right there, you know, when you drive up to the door, I'm just like, what are you doing? And he was like, well, I'm getting me a room. And I was like, okay, well, you can get you a room, but I'm not staying. I was like, I'm not staying here. He was like, well, you might as well stay because I'm not going to drive you all the way back and we're going to leave right in the morning. And I'm like, I'm not comfortable with staying. He goes in there. When he goes in there, I got out at the hotel and I walked in because I know that when you come to a hotel and you walk in the front doors, a camera is catching y'all. So I'm like, all right, I got to play this smart. I walked in there. I walked like to the front desk, like behind him, you know, being chill. And he was like, why you got out the car for? He was like, why you got the car for? He was like, I was going to get the key. We was going to park on the side and we was going to come inside or whatever. And so that's a red flag too, because you getting upset because I walked in the front door and you're telling me you was going to get the
That
key.
means he's also thinking two steps ahead as well, Wakia.
At least he think he was. He was like, well, if you're not leaving with us, he was like, you think you can get somebody to meet us on like getting off the exit so they can pick you up? And I was like, oh, roll. I'll just tell her to meet me right there and pick me up or whatever. So we get on the interstate. He's driving like 80, 90. He's like, yeah, because I brought you all the way down here for this. For all of this, I could have just stayed home. I could have just stayed home and relaxed by myself for the weekend. And now I'm heated because you're going off for no reason. You're going off and you trying to make a plan for me without my consent, for one. And for two, you're trying to force me to stay someplace that I'm not going to stay. So we getting towards the exit. Okay, now you passed the exit that we're supposed to go on to meet my aunt to get me
Oh,
on. And you're like, oh, matter of fact, if that's the case, then they tell if you ain't staying and if you already got somebody down here, if that's the case, then guess what? I'm going back to my room. They can come get you from my room. So I was like, actually, you can stop this month right here. And you can put me the out. I got out the car. I got my bag. We put up at another Circle K. So I got out of the car. He went speeding off, drove off. I was still standing there at the gas station. So my aunt is like, I'm calling her and I'm like, yeah, I'm already out of his car. Like, out. And she like, he put you out and just drove off or whatever. And I was like, basically, he was mad because I didn't want to stay or whatever. So while I'm standing there, I see a car, like I hear on the highway, like the horns are like blowing. People like blowing a horn. He like dashing through traffic through the red light to come back to the store. So at this point, I'm like, I'm
no,
going inside the
no.
store.
So wait, no, Wakia. No, this can't be real life.
Swear to God.
No, no.
Instantly, from that moment, I was on the phone with my aunt. So she could hear me talking and everything. She was like, Tanisha, put it on three-way, but call the police. So I put it on three-way. I called 911 at like a Waffle House. So he drove over there. So while he was driving over there, the guy was already in a parking lot and I was inside of the store. So I was like standing like beside the ATM so I could look out of the window. When I tell you, He came barging into the store like, come on, let's go. Because I brought you down here, so I'm taking you home. Because I don't want nobody trying to say I did nothing to you. So come on, let's go. I'm taking you back home. And so I'm just literally staring at him. Like, I'm not saying nothing. So the police come walking in the store and he like, is there a problem? And he said, I'm trying to bring my girlfriend. My girlfriend got mad with me, and I'm just trying to tell her, come on, we don't gotta do all this. And the officer was asking me like my name to see my ID and everything. And he was like, are y'all, boyfriend and girlfriend? I was like, sir, this is my first date with him. Like, I don't we not like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not a couple or nothing. He was like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I'm just waiting right here until my aunt gets here because my aunt is coming to pick me up. My aunt ended up coming. By the time my aunt got there, he had left. The guy had left. The police was like, I'm not leaving you. He was like, I'm staying right here with you the whole time.
Sounds like you're about to give us a lesson. So give us 3 lessons or 2 lessons that you learned from this experience.
First thing I knew from that moment, and I learned from that moment, and I even tell it to younger girls now. I know it's like a luxury girl thing. Oh, he's gonna pick me up. We're gonna go somewhere. Drive your own vehicle so when you're uncomfortable, you can leave whenever you're ready. And in case they want to go somewhere that you don't want to go, you can always get in your car and go. Second thing, pay attention. Second thing I learned is you got to pay attention to those men who are kind of like, if you do something and they give like that raw, like the thing he did when I was on the phone with my baby daddy. Like, I get off the phone and then he was tit for tat. That was something I learned, like, that's childish. Attention to men who want to do that tit for tat thing.
Thank you, Wiki, for sharing that. And I'm assuming you don't do Facebook dating app anymore. I'm sure
No,
that's over as well.
over.
Okay.
Over.
One thing that I am learning that I always tell the ladies here is not to meet men off of dating apps. I'm not saying every man on a dating app is bad, but I would prefer that most women go out into the world and meet their person, like organically. Feel their vibe, get a sense of their energy, all of the things. Okay? Drive to your date, Uber to your date, train, bus, however you got to get there. But no one should be picking you up from your house on your first date. People shouldn't know where you live. Every story was Ash, I met him from Hinge. Ash, I met him from a dating app. Ash, I met him from Facebook. Ash, I met him from BLK. Ash, I met him from Christian Mingle. But nobody said that. But go out into the real world. Touch some grass, honey. Meet people in real life. Say hello. That's what I would suggest. Okay, so tell me this. What city was this date? Where did you meet the guy? And how old were you guys?
So I live in Jersey. He's from New York. I'm 27. I think he was like 23. I like younger guys.
How did you guys meet?
We met off Hinge. He basically texted me or whatever on Hinge and was like, hey, how are you? You're beautiful. I want to take you out on a dinner. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like very adamant about getting to know me. He's just very pushy about getting to know me, asking me a million questions. I'm just like, all right, cool. But then like he was a little inconsistent. Like he went ghost for like hours, like the day that he was texting me and trying to get to know me. So I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. You can stop texting me. So I told him that, and he was like, no, I'm sorry. I'm just really busy. I got a lot going on. I'm taking care of my whole family. I'm like, okay, cool. Now what? So he's like, get dressed at 8. Taking you out to dinner. He Ubers to me, and then we Uber to the restaurant.
Wait, wait,
It's a,
wait.
it's
So
a
he doesn't have a car. He doesn't
no.
have a car,
He didn't
but
have a
you
car.
have a car. Do
Yeah,
you? Okay.
but
Okay.
we didn't take
Okay.
my car. We just Ubered to the restaurant. So we get to the restaurant, and it's a nice restaurant. Like it's a very nice aesthetic. Like it was similar to Del Frisco's, but it was in like downtown Philly.
Wait. So he lives in New York. He Ubered to your house in New Jersey, and you guys went to a restaurant in downtown Philly.
I live 20 minutes from Philly, so it's not that far.
Okay.
We get into the restaurant. He's looking at the menu. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get the lamb chops, whatever." So I ordered like fried chicken, mac, and like something else. But the guy had told him like the lamb chops are real small. Ordering lamb chops, just be mindful that they're small. We get the food or whatever. My food was like real like hefty. Like I didn't expect the portions that they was giving me for like the type of restaurant it was. I wasn't expecting. So I didn't eat all of it, right? He cleared his plate. Like his plate was done up. Like he had The lamb chops, whatever sides he had, plus the appetizer, everything was demolished.
You
Oh
said
my
he
God.
was hungry. He was
He was
hungry.
starved. Like he was starving. Like, and then, like, while we was eating and stuff, like, I'm a very like charismatic person when it comes to like dates and stuff. Like I crack jokes. I'm real like, friendly. Like if I like have something in my mind that's a joke, whatever, I'm gonna say it. So I had crack a little joke. He laughed so loud that the whole restaurant turned around and was looking at us. I wasn't laughing. I just cracked the joke. But he was on some like, I can't even like reiterate how he laughed, but it was just the way he laughed was like like it was just mad loud. I'm like I don't need all this attention like to the table. Like, and he was one of those young guys who got money. So like he just felt like because he had money is speaking for him. Like it's just like, all right, I got bread. I don't care what nobody thinking me. You feel me? I don't have to have like etiquette or nothing like that. I could just do whatever. So the worst part about the date was, remember how I said he cleared his plate? I didn't finish my food. I didn't like my food. So I'm like, I'm done. I put my plate off to the side on the next table for the waiter to come get it. Why did this man grab my plate and ate all of the food on my plate?
He didn't say, let me get a piece. Let me
No,
get half of the
he
wing.
took the plate.
Let me
He
get a
took
scoop of the mac.
he took the plate and he said, I'm like, he tearing that shit up. And I'm just like, wait, hold on. Wait, you serious right now? He's just tearing up the mac, tearing up the fried chicken. He tearing up everything. And I'm like,
He
he
don't
like, I'm
even
gonna get
care
my
if you
money's
may
worth.
have germs. I'm not saying you have germs, but he don't care that he's eating behind
That's what
you.
I'm
He
saying.
does
Like
not
on the
care.
first date, like the fact that he like, just start demolishing it, like he ripping it apart, like oh my God, I felt like I was in like a cartoon or something. The way he was eating my food, and I'm just like, what, like, bro, why didn't you just order yourself more food? Put to
That's
the
the
side.
question that I have. You said he's a get money New York kind of guy from Brooklyn. So that tells me he's into pharmaceuticals or getting monies by any means necessary.
Yeah.
So why didn't he just order another entree, another appetizer, and said, all right, Indigo, you take yours to go because I'm a get money guy in New York City and I have something to prove. Why didn't he do that if he's a hustling man?
I don't know, and it's crazy because like that's all he kept talking about was like like how he gets money and stuff, like what he does. So like I'm just thinking in my head like why are you taking the plate that I basically threw off to the side? Like I'm talking like I put things to let the waiter know it was garbage. You know what I'm saying? Like how, like when you just put stuff together just to make it neat and put it to the waiter. He literally picked it up, grabbed it, and just started eating it, and he cleared the whole plate.
Wait,
He
wait.
cleared the
So
whole
he
plate.
so the little chicken bones you put on the side of your plate, he even picked that up? There's no
I didn't.
way.
It was the stuff that I was eating already. Like he ate all of it. He cleared it. He turned it into bones. I was like, damn, like this is crazy. But like in all honesty, like I would never again. Like he's never seen me again.
So what's one thing you learned from this date, Indigo?
I'm gonna be honest. Dating apps is not it. In all honesty, I just feel like if you're gonna use a dating app, just use it to like pass time. Like don't take nobody serious on there. Like I don't really take nobody serious off dating apps like that. Like not no more, because I've learned my lesson. You feel me? Like
Do you like dating apps? Put yes or no in the chat. Do you enjoy dating apps? Do you prefer to meet someone in real life or on a dating app? Let me know, chat. Do you Yeah, y'all don't want to leave the house, so that's why y'all want dating apps. I was about 27. I had just moved to Houston, Texas. I think he might have been 28, 29. So this was also a dating app. But I was told to meet people to get on a dating app because I was new here, so I didn't know anyone. What dating app was it that you met this guy? It was Hinge. Yeah, it was definitely Hinge. I saw his pictures and I was like, oh, he's nice looking. He looks like he's tall. He's brown skin, kind of my type. So we matched. He sent me a message and he was like, hey, I don't really want to do the small talk. I want to get to know you in person. And I was like, oh, okay. And he was like, would you like to go on a date today? And I was like, oh, but sure. My red flag for me in the beginning was that we had a little bit of small talk. So he was from Houston. So to me, if you're from Houston, you should know where to take me. And he was just like, well, where you want to go? And I was like, I mean, you the one asking me on a date.
So
Mhm.
I'm new here, so I don't know where to go. So he was like, we met at this place called Prospect Park. It took him forever to park. When he got out the car, he had an attitude because he couldn't find a place to park. I'm sitting down with him and I'm making small talk. And I was like, are you hungry? And he was like, no, I'm not really hungry. And I was like, what you asked me on a date for then? And he was like, well, are you hungry? And I was like, yeah, I'm hungry, but I mean, I don't want to be sitting here eating by myself. And he was like, no, you good. So he was like, do you smoke
Hold
hookah?
on. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Z Lewis, but this is the second to third story that we're hearing from a woman who says that she was invited on a dinner date or a lunch date and the man doesn't want to eat. So that is already a sign to me that he doesn't probably want to spend. They're showing up to the date and they're not hungry. But continue.
Yeah, so he was like, do you smoke hookah? And I was like, I mean, I've had it before. Like, we can get hookah if you want to get hookah. So she brought the hookah over to the table. I was like, are you going to smoke it with me? And he was like, no. And I was just like, okay. And then I asked him, is he going to drink? Because he asked me that I want to drink. And I was like, yeah, I'll get like, like a lemon drop or a margarita. And I was like, are you going to get something to drink? And he was like, no. So then he sat up there on his phone.
Wait,
And
wait, 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 wait. So we're at the point of the date, Z, where you show up to the date. You're new in Houston. This man is from Houston. He already didn't have an idea of where he wanted to take you. Mind you, he lives in the city, right? So he finds a place, he invites you, you get to the restaurant, he gets out the car with an attitude, gets into the spot, you guys sit down, he's not hungry, he's not thirsty, he doesn't want to smoke cigar or hookah, and he's on his phone. That's where we are in the story so far. Lord.
I have got like some finger food, some wings and some fries. So instead of buying his own food, why did he take his hands and eat off my plate? And I was thinking to myself, like, oh, okay, I know what this is about. You're broke. But I didn't say it out loud. I said, what do you do for a living? I'm making small conversation. And he was like, I do a lot of things. Okay. So what's a lot of things? Explain to me what that is because I'm an educator. So come on. So he was like, I do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I said, are you a drug dealer? And he said, no, I'm not no drug dealer. And I was like, okay, well, a lot of things, what does that mean? And he was just like, just know that I got it. I'm good. I'm good. Like I got money. And I'm still making conversation. And he goes, do you ever be quiet? And I was just like, quiet. Like you asked me out on this date. And he was like, you just do a lot of talking. Like sometimes you don't have to talk. You could just sit here. How do you get to know someone if you're not making conversation? And he was like, I don't know, but you do a lot of talking. So I just need you to just pause for a second. And so I went to the restroom and I called my girlfriend on the phone and I told her exactly what was going on. And she told me to just leave. She said, leave. You got your car. Just leave. Don't even walk back over to him and say anything. So guess what? Bye bye bye. I left.
Walked out the front. Did he see you walk out?
He saw me walk out the front and he was like, where are you going? I said, I'm leaving. And he was like, oh yeah, by the way, this date was horrible, but nice knowing you.
What's one thing you learned that you can just teach other women from just going on that date?
I would say again, don't use any dating apps. Try to meet people organically. If you do use a dating app, actually try to get to know them before, even if they say, oh, I want to up and take you on a date. No, have small conversation, actually get to know someone a little bit before you just to agree to on a date. Because it's 2024. We can all take ourselves out on a date. It's not that big of a deal. So I would say that for me.
No dating apps. Stay away from Hinge. This is our third story about Hinge. Our first story was about Black. So I would suggest all women, if not most women, to go out into the world and meet someone organically because it doesn't sound like the ladies are having the best luck with dating apps. That's what we're hearing. Every person who comes up is saying, I met a man through a dating app. This is what I want to ask you, Grace. Where did you guys meet? How old were you guys? And what state or city was this in? And then tell me your story.
Okay, so I am 28. The guy's also 28. I met him on Hinge, and I live in Denver, Colorado. Okay, so we matched on Hinge. Obviously, the conversation on Hinge was great. Respectful. It wasn't too much too fast because that's been my experience in the past sometimes. So he checked all the boxes, and I wanted to meet up in person. And he was like very forward about inviting me. He was very intentional about inviting me to dinner. He said, let's go to dinner. And so it's 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, great, I'm not going to eat dinner. I will go and have dinner with this man. He got to the restaurant, I think 10 minutes before the date. And I was like, that's great. You came early. I got there 5 minutes before the date. And so he went into the restaurant. He went to the back of the restaurant and was facing away from the door. And I had to walk. Personally, I'm big on chivalry, so I wanted him to walk me from my car to the door, or wait for me, or something. So I had to walk from my car to the door in the dark. That was check number one. I was like, okay. So I got to the door. I got into the restaurant, and I couldn't find him because I've never seen him before. I have never met him in person, and he was sitting in the back of the restaurant facing away from the door.
Hold
Well,
on, Grace. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you said when you were walking into the restaurant, you never seen him before. On the dating apps, did he have photos, videos of
yeah.
himself? So you,
So I saw
yeah.
pictures. I just hadn't seen him in
Okay.
person. Anyway, he's facing away from the door. I could only see the back of his head. And so I'm walking around. I finally saw his face and I got to the table and I introduced myself. I said, hi, my name is Grace. You're so and so, right? And he was on his phone. He looked up and he said, oh, hey, and looked back down at his phone. He did not stand up to greet me. He did not, like, nothing. He just was like, hey, and looked back at his phone. I was like, okay. So I sat down across from him. Looked at the menu and so what looks good here? Have you seen anything that you like? What do you think? And he's like, I actually don't eat in front of people. I was like, oh, you invited me to dinner, but you don't eat in front of people? I'm confused. And it was
But
7 o'clock
he
at
said,
night.
wow, but he doesn't even eat a crumb,
No, he
like
said, I don't like
nothing.
to eat in front of people. I should have left at that point. I should have been like, well, okay, you have a good night and goodbye. I'm too nice. I stuck around and I ordered a drink. I said, could we at least share an appetizer? Could we at least do that? Because I'm hungry. And he said, okay, fine. And when we ate, it was like he had like 2 bites mostly. Anyway, the conversation was okay at first until he literally spent most of the time talking about his ex-girlfriend. Again, I should have gotten up and left. I should have been like, all right, have a good night. Like, I don't mind. I'll just pay for my drink. I'll go. I sat there and I listened to him talk for almost 2 hours about his ex-girlfriend.
2 hours?
It was so bad. I had to get childcare. I don't go out very much. I'm in nursing school. So like this is like it was like a once in a while type
Yeah.
of thing. So anyway, the date was over. The restaurant was actually closing and I was like, we should go. So we went out and again, he opened the door and walked through it. Did not hold it open for me, just opened it and walked through it. I was like, oh my gosh. Then we got outside and he pushed me on the side, like the street side of the sidewalk on purpose. And I was like, don't you want to walk on the outside? Because that's
Yeah.
manners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
men are usually supposed to be on the outside and you're on the
Yes.
inside.
Yes, exactly. He did pay. He did pay. I offered to pay. I was like, I'll pay my half because I do that. I will offer to pay half, but he paid the whole thing. So we walked to his car because his car was closer than mine. And then he was like, all right, have a good night. And I was like, no, it's dark outside. I need you to walk me to my car. And so he did. He walked me to my car. Then he literally was like, okay, bye. Did not open my car door, nothing. So I just got in the car, drove away, and I blocked him. I haven't spoken to him since. He found me on TikTok and said, hey, I had such a great time. I enjoyed your company. I'd like to see you again. And I said, I appreciate that. I did not see the things that I wanted to see in order to move forward. So I wish you luck in your dating experience. Then he said, great. I was going to go no contact anyway. So bye. I was like, okay.
Well, I
But yeah.
blocked you and then you found me on social media, said you had a great time, and then circled back and said, well, I was gonna block you anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
I
Wow.
know.
Let me ask you, what's one or two things that you learned that you can just let other women know who are watching the live?
stingy about your time. It's your time. Don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry, this is not working for me. I need to go. If it's been 2 minutes, if it's been 5 minutes, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. If you need to go, go. And then number two, I would say, don't be afraid to advocate for what you want. If I want you to open the door for me, I'm going to ask you. If I want you to come out to my car and get me, I'm going to ask you. It's fair to have some expectations of how the man should behave. I can tell you once, I can ask you once and let you know what I need. But after that, if you can't follow through, that's when I'm like, okay, that's enough.
And Grace, you did mention about like maybe in the past you were willing to pay for your date. No matter what idea you have in your mind about yourself, and this goes to all the Graces watching, please do not pull out your card on the first date. That's a no-no.
So
Okay?
my question with that is, is it okay to offer, or I shouldn't even offer at all? I should
No,
expect
don't
him to
offer.
pay. Don't even
You should
offer.
expect, but Grace, you should expect him to pay like you expect him to open the door.
Okay.
Like you expect him to walk on the outside of the street and you on the inside.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, make
Got it.
sense?
Yes, it does. I will take that with me in the
Yeah.
future.
Grace is a sweetheart, and I would hate to see anyone take advantage. And that's why I tell my ladies that you have to have your nose in the air.